Hello Team FD and welcome back to the 12th Man, where you take us on at Sky Fantasy Football in a bid to win big boy prizes. Now I've got some sad news, gentlemen. This is the last episode. We've guided the guys through pre-season, albeit not very well. I am 2,566th in the league, as Adam McCullough highlighted on Twitter. How are you pair faring? Nice symmetry here, Rory, because you were here for the first episode and here for the last. How have you got on?
Terribly. Yeah, not well at all. I don't know how people do it. I just find it so difficult to not let my natural football biases impact what I choose for fantasy football. It's impossible.
Joe, what about you, mate?
Embarrassing, awful, shocking. That's just words I would use to describe myself. But George Wright has crushed it this week. He actually finished second in the entire Football Daily League. Over 3,000 people, George Wright finished second. So if you're going to listen to a ginger on this show, listen to George.
He's behind the camera now, and he's giving away a kit on his Twitter after this show goes live. So go and check that out. Drop him a comment. If you're not playing along with us, you can still join. Pin is on screen now and play along with us on Twitter for the rest of the season. Still some prizes to be won. Obviously, whoever comes top at the end of game week 38, you go into the Championship playoff final. Hospitality, corporate hospitality.
Ooh. At Wembley as well, it's amazing
Wembley,
corporate hospitality.
And it's the same pretty much for second, and third place gets a PlayStation. Anyway, let's jump straight into the quick fire questions because we've got some doozies. First question comes from Susan Abogu, and they've asked, do you think Chelsea can win the title with Sarri? And last time you were here, Rory, you thought that was perhaps reaching, but since then, I take it you've changed your mind, changed your opinion.
I have. I think we can now. I think we're in with a shout. I think we are now a genuine contender for lifting the Premier League in May. I don't know if it will happen, obviously, but I feel that we are certainly in the conversation now, and I think that everyone else who has their eye on winning it will be looking at Chelsea and feeling slight trepidation.
Oh, so what's happened in the interim from game week 1 to game week 5?
Mate, we've been so good.
Your mind?
We've been so good at football. It's changed everything.
Pure and simple.
Yeah, pure and simple. I mean, there's been a few rocky moments, but generally speaking, won 5 out of 5, and we've played some beautiful football. We have the best player in the league who's on fire, and
You haven't been tested yet, though.
well, Arsenal at home, I think, would constitute a test.
Arsenal at home. Are we counting that as a test?
We were poor against Arsenal as well. We did well to get the win, which I think reinforces my argument. I think if you win when you're not playing very well, like Arsenal should have scored 5 goals in that first half, and they didn't, and we had enough about us to win. We also went away to Newcastle, a ground where we never do well. They got a late equaliser, and we still fought back and got a victory. And I think they are the kind of moments that are character building and potentially championship building.
He has improved certain individuals as well, hasn't he? 3 of the league's top 5 passers are Chelsea players. Yeah. No shock that Jorginho is top, but Rudiger, I feel like he's taken up that Koulibaly position very well, and I think could be one of the surprise packages of the season. I don't think he's anywhere near as bad as people make out. I think he's got great potential. Have you been impressed with his stuff?
Yeah, mate, he's been excellent. I think it's a testament to how good he is, actually. The conversation that Chelsea fans have about our back line, which has had its moments, there's been a bit suspect at times, but the conversation amongst Chelsea fans is always who partners Rudiger. It's never is Rudiger not there? It's always Rudiger plus one, Rudiger plus Luiz or Christensen, but there's no talk about dropping Rudiger.
He's the main man.
Yeah, he is absolutely, he's the best defender at the club.
Tom, listen, you say you don't think they've been tested. They've got some tough fixtures coming up. So they've got after West Ham this week, they have Liverpool twice, Southampton, then Manchester United. So this could be a big month for Sarri. Do you see them overcoming those tests? Liverpool in particular going to prove difficult.
I think Liverpool's going to be a really tough game for Sarri. As good as you've been going forward, and I think you have created some fantastic chances, I do still think you are slightly weak at the back. Yeah. Not overly convinced about Marcos Alonso as an out-and-out left-back going backwards. I love him going forwards.
It hurts my feelings.
Beautiful player going forwards, but going backwards, I still think that's sometimes suspect defensively, especially positionally. I think that Liverpool will test you big. I also think that Man United will be a tough test for Sarri, because Jose is going to sit real deep against you, and you're going to have to play through a properly deep block against United. So I think we can say after the next 5 or 6 fixtures whether they're genuine title contenders. I think early doors is pretty early to be saying Chelsea are genuine title contenders. I think if Eden Hazard picked up a knock now, I think you'd really struggle.
I wonder where you draw the line, because so with 5 games in, which is like 13% of the games you're going to play, that's quite a significant chunk to be top after that. And I think you're right. I think the Liverpool game is going to be huge. But I'm taking a lot of comfort in the fact that Liverpool's fixtures are mental
around
us.
The next
they play us twice. Yeah, their fixtures are so difficult.
Ridiculous.
And I'm jealous of it because, they're playing the best teams in Europe. They're playing Champions League football. And I'm so envious of that
And you're
fact.
playing Videton.
But this is another reason.
The mighty Videton.
This is another reason I'm not convinced you are going to end up winning the league, the Europa League.
Okay.
As much as you can rest players, you can rotate players, you can give players like Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Callum Hudson-Odoi, it just becomes a slog. It does just take it out of your team because these players are still travelling.
Yeah.
They're not going to leave Hazard in London. He's still going to be travelling to the Arsenal on a Thursday night. It just becomes a slog. I think
maybe
every team that has been in the Europa League has suffered in the Premier League.
Chelsea's group is really weak, so that kind of plays into your hands in that I don't think Eden Hazard, although he may want to score 40 goals across all competitions, will feature at all.
No, I think that's possible, but like Joe's point's really valid there. And although the teams that we're going to face are weak, they're all miles away.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of mileage.
He's still travelling.
I
He's
think
still on
you
the
do have
plane.
decent depth though.
Yeah, I do as well. I think Joe's completely spot on. That competition is so difficult. So if we are to launch like a serious and sustained bid for the league, I'm not convinced that we'll be able to match that with a Europa League run as well. But we'll see what the club decide to prioritise.
Yeah, well, talking of priorities, I think a lot of this rests on Eden Hazard, doesn't it?
Too much of it.
It ties nicely with our next question from Ellie Nador. And they've asked, is Eden Hazard the best player in the Premier League at current? So after 5 games, 18 take-ons, 5 goals, 2 assists, he's now scored more goals in his first 5 games in this campaign than in the first 5 of his previous 6 combined. Historically, comes into form during the middle part of the season. So the fact he's gone off like a rocket goes hand in hand with your unexpected title.
I find that question mildly offensive because the answer is no, he isn't the best player in the league. He's the best player in the world.
Well, that's a hot take.
He's the best player in the world at the moment. There's nobody can live with him at the moment. Like you should have seen the way. I know it was Cardiff and they're a threadbare Premier League side. I know.
Messi,
but you should, mate. The way that he controlled the game. The one thing that I think Hazard has lacked. I think a fair criticism of Hazard over the years have been that he hasn't been that player. That mercurial player who can drag his team to a victory that perhaps they don't deserve. The other day against Cardiff, they went 1-0 up. It was a very Warnock game, it was very bitty. All of a sudden, Eden Hazard was like, right, enough of this nonsense.
Give me the ball.
Give me the ball. Give me the ball and watch this. And that kind of form, if he were to demonstrate that consistently over this season, which I believe he will, that's a Ballon d'Or waiting to happen, isn't it?
Ooh!
I mean, if he supercharges Chelsea to a league title, then he'll have definitely a shout at the very least, won't he? But I mean, his numbers have gone supernova, haven't they, Joe?
Yeah, I mean,
you've been looking into him.
Unbelievable numbers, yeah, for sure. I mean, he's scored 5 goals from 6 shots on target this season. He's across the course of his Premier League career, he's been averaging about 70 shots a season. And last season at Napoli, similar sort of role, Lorenzo Insigne on that left wing. He produced 177 shots under Maurizio Sarri. So if Eden Hazard can get anywhere near that sort of number, even 120 plus, he is going to score so many goals this season, a frightening number of goals. But there's too much reliance on him. In my head, there's too much reliance on him. If you take Eden Hazard out of that, it's a huge cog. I feel like if you take
that's true.
out of City, you take Aguero out, or they've lost Kevin De Bruyne for 3 months. They've still got the cover. I feel like even if you take from Liverpool now, a Salah out, I still feel like Firmino and Mane cover enough of that output. I do not feel the same of Morata and Giroud.
Really? I think, Chelsea across that front line, so Hazard's numbers aren't sustainable, are they, at current? Well, you'd imagine it's going to drop. I mean, his shot accuracy is about 35% at the minute. Historically, it's been about 16%. And although, Insigne had 177 shots last season, he only scored 8 goals. So if Hazard can, get 20 in the league, that'd be massive for Chelsea, wouldn't it? And his best season ever. I mean, the 40 thing is across all competitions, right? I don't think we're going to expect Hazard to put up like Ronaldo or Messi numbers in the Premier League, but. I think you can definitely get more out of Pedro, definitely get more out of Giroud.
You've got to remember Williams.
Like
the other day, we started with Pedro, who had a very good game. He went off. We then brought Willian on, who wins a penalty and scores a goal of the game. So we do have reinforcements there.
Yeah.
And as much as I don't want to rain on your parade about the numbers, because the number, you delivered it perfectly. But the other thing is, well, I think those kind of facts can be a bit misleading, is they only tell half the story about him this season. Like, how do you quantify heart? How do you quantify effort? How do you quantify passion? And he's been displaying all those things in abundance.
Here's what I will say, though, is Manchester City won the title last season with Mohamed Salah scoring, 44 goals across all competitions and getting, 13 assists or something like that? A ridiculous amount of output. Even if Eden Hazard matches Mohamed Salah across all competitions last season, it wasn't enough to topple Manchester City. And you finished how many points behind City last year?
Yeah, that's true. Although, look, it's going to take something special, and I completely concede that Manchester City are frightening, even in their
even though they dropped points.
They won. Well, they won. Yeah, they have, and also, they won 3-0 the other day, and Guardiola was fuming. That shows you how good they are. But I do think now that there is a chance. I think that it's shaping up nicely at Chelsea. Chelsea know how to win titles.
True.
And I think that Eden Hazard in this form could lead us all the way there.
But by the way, come back to the question, definitely the best player in the Premier League.
And world.
Not world.
Premier League, okay. I mean, Salah's been a bit unfortunate at the start of this season. I think he should have had more than 2 in 5. I think expected goals had him at about 4. But him, De Bruyne, Aguero's looked
right now.
fitter and sharper.
I'm talking right now, though.
In the first 5 weeks of the Premier League, yeah.
Yeah. And also, he had an unbelievable World Cup, Hazard.
Yeah, and considering he was rested for the first 2 games as well, for his numbers to be where they are, mental. And I think that, it's all been changed. It's all been facilitated by that change in system, hasn't it? Sarri said that he wants him playing in the final third of the pitch. He's getting more touches in the opposition box now than ever. I think 8.5 per game. That puts him in the top 4. Last season he was like 17th, 18th for that figure. So I think he's going to...
the whole ground lifts when he arrives.
But I want him to play more smartly and play to his strengths. And
but that is
maybe
happening.
We'll see him, yeah.
That is happening. Like, every time he gets the ball now, you can feel it around the stadium. The stadium gets a lift. The opposition defence are terrified. They're doubling up on him. It's creating room for others. He is the jewel in the crown.
One of your strikers needs to start scoring goals.
This is a problem, Joe.
One of your strikers
has to.
Giroud has to start scoring goals.
I don't know if Giroud does. I don't know. I don't even know if I agree with the point I'm about to make, but I'll make it anyway. I don't know if Giroud has to score goals, because I think that he can be a very gifted and brilliant striker who sorts it out for other people.
Link-up player.
Yeah, he's the best back-to-goal striker in the world, arguably, and I think simply being that can allow the likes of Hazard and Willian to... I don't know if I agree with that, because I do think strikers should be scoring goals. But Morata is the real problem, and I think if it goes flat for us this season, which, it could still do, I think it will be because we haven't got that man up front with that edge. The Diego Costa who drags you to victory, scores goals you don't deserve, gets players sent off, gets players booked. We don't have that, and it could cost us.
I feel like Chelsea are a little bit similar to Liverpool last season in that there are 2 players, and you could just, if you pulled them out, I feel like everything would collapse. Like I feel like if you took Jorginho out of that midfield and you took Hazard out of the attack, I feel like it would all collapse. I feel like Liverpool are now slightly past that, and City are definitely past that.
I was going to say, most teams in the top 6, I think, if you applied that rule in. It's a hard stick to beat Chelsea with if you took Harry Kane and Dele Alli and Christian Eriksen.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like there's definitely 2 sets of 3 in that top 6. There's Liverpool, City and Chelsea are miles better than Arsenal, Tottenham and United.
You think Chelsea are miles better than Tottenham?
Yeah, Tottenham have been horrendous.
Tottenham had a bad week against Liverpool.
Not a great week against Watford.
It was hilarious. It should have been 5-0.
It's so good.
And not a great week against Watford the week before.
No, that is true.
And I didn't actually watch the United game.
Slow starters, though, historically.
They were terrible against Liverpool as well. Although it finished 2-1, it was a very misleading scoreline. He couldn't get the ball off them.
No.
Literally couldn't get the ball off them.
And whatever Poch has done behind the scenes, I don't know why he's trying this new tactic of 2 wing-backs high at the pitch with just 2 at the back, and then a midfield diamond with Eric Dyer at the base of it. But there's nowhere near enough depth. And we told him at the start of the season, you need to get midfielders, because at the moment, the midfield is an old Moussa Dembele, Harry Winks, Eric Dyer, and Victor Wanyama coming on for impact. It's not good enough.
No, it's not. Moving swiftly on to Kashik Pawar's question, because it ties in very loosely with Hazard. A little bit more Sky Fantasy Football related, this one. Should I swap Hazard in for Salah or Mane? Now, Hazard is £11.8 million, gentlemen, and it was the second most transferred in player during week 5 almost 30,000 managers, including him, in their team. Now, Salah, conversely, and there might be a bit of correlation here, was the most transferred out player with nearly 23,000 managers opting to give the £12.9 million star the boot. Yeah. You'd imagine it's one for the other.
Yeah.
Lucas Moura's also come in, Harry Kane has dropped out. So there's some of the trends on Sky Fantasy Football. But, I mean, if you're taking Salah out, Liverpool have a tough run of games, and putting Hazard in it this time, I'm not sure it's the most opportune, because Chelsea also have...
We've got some tricky fixtures coming up, but you can't be a manager on fantasy football and not have Eden Hazard in your team.
Flying at the moment.
You just can't do that. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with it being at the expense of Salah. If there is a way to accommodate the pair of them, do it. Because I think Salah's, phenomenal.
He could have scored a hat-trick against Spurs on the weekend.
Should have certainly got on the score sheet. But you've got to have Eden Hazard in your team.
There it is, straight from the horse's mouth. Get Eden Hazard in your team, Kashik. Next question and final question comes from James Good. Are Everton one striker away from being a really good team? Now, they've scored 8 goals this season, gentlemen, conceding 9. That's the same as Leicester. They have one more than Fulham and Brighton in that department. Now, I did a little bit of research around this. Cenk Tosun is taking the most shots per game for Everton. Guess who's second?
It's going to be something ridiculous, isn't it?
Walcott.
Walcott's 1.4, but no. Top 5, Rory?
Leighton Baines.
Is it somebody like that?
Rory.
Sorry.
Is it Leighton Baines?
It's not Leighton Baines. It's Michael Keane.
Wow.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
With 2 shots a game. That's pretty damning, isn't it?
That is ridiculous.
I actually don't think Everton's problems, though, are necessarily going forward. I think they've got enough to sustain a fairly decent top half finish with their forward line in terms of, I'm expecting Theo Walcott, Gylfi Sigurdsson, as average as Cenk Tosun is, Richarlison to all kind of chip in and get him over the line.
You can't. When you say over the line, what line are we talking?
Top 10.
Yeah, but
I think for Everton. I think they'd be pretty happy. Obviously, Tosun not really good enough.
You just can't lose to West Ham at home like that.
But more problems at the back. Marco Silva has a notoriously mediocre to poor record defensively for every team he's managed, and he's made no difference coming in here to the defence. The defence has been terrible for seasons after seasons.
I mean,
in fact, ever since David Moyes left, the defence has been poor.
The current depth is Holgate, Zuma, Keane, Mina and Jagielka. And is there a partnership between them?
No.
Really?
How's Phil Jagielka in this conversation? How are we having a conversation?
35-year-old
Do you know what?
Jagielka.
If we were sitting here in 2014, it would have been weird to be talking about Phil Jagielka.
Yeah,
we're still doing it.
Especially with Everton having spent close to £250 million on recruitment in the last
proper
2 or 3
Derby
years.
County centre-back Phil Jagielka.
Yeah.
Seriously, he should be playing for the Rams. I can't believe, I don't know whether Yerry Mina hasn't been fit. I don't know why he hasn't been playing, but I can't believe he hasn't been in the starting lineup if he hasn't been fit. Because for me, he is their best centre-back if he's fit. I think Michael Keane has looked worse and worse every time I've watched him.
The defence actually hasn't been that porous this season, so they've conceded around the 8th fewest shots, similar to Manchester United, but they do play with 2 defensive midfielders.
They have to build it around Zuma, don't they? They have to. Kurt Zuma is the best defender at that club.
I don't think he is. He was a mess at Stoke last year.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened to Kurt Zuma. I feel like his stock has dropped straight off, mate.
Kurt Zuma has the potential to be the best defender at that club. They have to build around.
For sure.
They have to build around him. And it's Zuma +1 and get the simple things right.
Did you see how much room there was between Zuma and Holgate against West Ham?
Yeah, it's not good enough.
I know.
But to have
ridiculous.
Holgate starting as a centre-half in the Premier League when you're trying to finish top 10, it's not good enough, is it?
No.
I mean, I like to see young, talented players getting blooded, but come on.
It's all gone wrong for Michael Keane. Like this time last year, we could have had a conversation about Michael Keane going to the World Cup.
Having said that, he has fractured his skull.
Yeah, feel for the boy. But
So, I mean, he has fractured his skull, so we give him a bit of credence here.
yeah, fair.
And he's taken the second most shots, so he's an absolute unit up front. But yeah, I think...
But to answer that question, it's way more than one player. They're not one player away.
Yeah.
Arguably, they're one player per position on the pitch. No, they're not. They're more than that. It's more than 4.
Honestly, like Lucas Digne on the weekend was an absolute shambles. Kurt Zuma and Holgate not good enough. And can I just say, Jordan Pickford, as much as he gets praised and he had a great World Cup for England, at times his decision making is appalling. The rollout that gets intercepted by Mark Noble to set up Yarmolenko is nowhere near good enough. He's conceded about 400 goals in 3 seasons, Jordan Pickford.
It's also mental. It's also mental that Mark Noble is intercepting anything.
I know, literally, genuinely mind-blowing.
Like, I'm faster than him, and I'm so
midfield
slow.
three of Declan Rice, Obiang and Mark Noble is running riot in a midfield five, effectively, against
Shocking.
Everton at home.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's probably better left.
Yeah, have you seen, though, by the way, just a quick one, get Wilshere out of your team. He's injured for 6 weeks, ankle surgery. So he was a great signing, wasn't he? Golden Sullivan.
Classic.
Nailed it.
Moving on. Our first preview of the week is Manchester United versus Wolves Saturday at 3 o'clock. And Joseph, United finally look like they've found a way to accommodate both talent and industry in their side in the last couple of games. What is this 4-1-2-1-2 system they're playing?
Fairly kind. I don't even think it's a 4-1-2-1. It's more of...
Jesse Lingard as a floating 10.
It's actually more of like a 4-2-1-1-2. It's an odd one, I'll be honest. It's really odd. But effectively, it's Matic and Fellaini screening the back four, which has, as jokes as it sounds on paper, been super effective for Jose.
Solid, yeah.
Fellaini has put in 2 great performances in that role. Pogba slightly more advanced in front of them, and then Jesse Lingard floating behind Alexis Sanchez playing where he wants, when he wants, and doing what he wants, which isn't really working for him at the moment. And Lukaku, who has been really good again. Lukaku's work off the ball is so much better than when he first joined Man United. There was a moment against Watford when we were 2-1 up and he was sprinting 70 yards back to make a tackle at right back. And it was that, I think that summed up his season so far at United. As many goals as he scored, I think 3 so far, his industry is partly what makes him such a good player. I think since 2012, in terms of goal involvements in the Premier League, he's second behind Sergio Aguero, you know.
Jeez. I think he's got 20 and 39 for United, hasn't he?
It's good, yeah. It's
I
really
think that's only like 4th behind Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Yeah. So we've effectively found a system that works. It doesn't play nice football. We're not playing well, but it works.
Functional.
Yeah.
With Fellaini pretty much embodying the current ethos.
But he's playing well, so.
What are your thoughts on this game? Any predictions?
I think United will win, actually. I think this is just back to my Mourinho bias. I think once they start grinding out results, once you see the Mourinho blueprint coming into effect, and once you see it actually happening, you know, the 3 points being secured when they may or may not deserve it, it's a bit of a wake-up call to everyone else in the league, I think. I think that United have now found a bit of a rhythm, and I think they'll win this game. And if they do, I don't think it's great news for anyone who's hoping for Champions League qualification.
The one thing I will say is, over the last 2 seasons, these are the games Jose's dropped points in. This has been a notorious. This has got 1-1 written all over it. United are going 1-0 up, not getting a second, and then Wolves scoring. United have struggled big time against lower half teams at home, putting them away.
But Wolves aren't your traditional lower half side, are they? They are going to play more expansive football. United have struggled to break down, ironically, people who do part of the bus. But this is a Wolves side that have had more opportunities on goal this season per game and conceded fewer on their goal than Manchester United. So I think this could be a real challenge for Manchester United.
Don't be surprised either to see Wolves dominate possession. I wouldn't be surprised to see.
Did it, didn't it,
Leicester did it, and I think it'll be a similar sort of ilk to that game. The one thing I do think is that Wolves, I think, will struggle to deal with Lukaku a little bit. As good as Conor Cody and Bolly have been, I think Romelu Lukaku tends to dominate in these types of games. This is his bread and butter, Romelu Lukaku, against sort of mid-table teams that he feels like he can chuck about.
Well, Nuno's been playing a 3-4-3, hasn't he? So it'll be interesting to see if you guys can peg those fullbacks back, and if you do, that does cut off sort of their 2 biggest lifelines.
We won't be doing that, don't worry. I haven't seen Antonio Valencia peg a fullback back in about 2.5 years.
There we have it.
What about Sanchez? Does his form worry you at all?
It does. It absolutely does. But equally, it feels like he's undroppable. Right. It feels like Jose just likes a bloke who runs around a lot. Doesn't actually do anything with it. Like, I imagine if you looked at Alexis Sanchez's tackles and interceptions, it would be the same as Juan Mata's, but because he's sprinting around for 60% of the game and falling over, it looks like he's doing those. I'd like to see Alexis Sanchez rotated a little bit more, especially given some of the talent we've got on the bench in the likes of Anthony Martial. But having said that, when Anthony Martial came on with 15 minutes left against Watford, didn't exactly like the field up.
No.
But it's always going to be hard to come on once every 3 games for 15 minutes and produce some magic, isn't it? So I would say rotate Alexis a little bit, please, Jose, because he's not playing well.
Helder Costa could give Ashley Young a hard time.
I think Luke Shaw might be back. I think Luke Shaw might start in this one. I think it'd be pretty harsh for Jose to have dropped Luke Shaw for this one. Obviously, he was available on Saturday, but didn't train during the week, so Jose didn't pick him. I think if Jose drops him after that head injury, I think that's such a morale blow, given how well he started the season.
But I think more so just to ease him back in. You think he's going to play?
No, I think
Shaw's fit and ready to go.
I think Ashley will play in the Champions League. Ashley will play in the Champions League, and then Luke Shaw might get the nod in the Premier League, or it'll be the reverse.
Okay, interesting. Score predictions?
I'll go 1-1.
I think United will do it easy, 2-0 United.
I think they're going to make hard work of it, but 2-1 Manchester United. Moving quickly on to West Ham versus Chelsea then, which is the first match on Super Sunday at 1:30 p.m. Now, we've already had a chat about Chelsea and how we feel about various individuals of the club, but I can see you blowing away West Ham here, Rory.
I hope you're correct. I don't necessarily agree with you though.
Why?
Because they always do it. They always raise their game when they play against us. They
Yeah,
turn into
they
Real
do.
Madrid
Especially
twice a
at the
season
Olympic
is when they
Stadium,
play
yeah.
us. They really do. They beat us there last year. We haven't got a good record at the new stadium. I think we've only won there once. It's always a niggly game against West Ham. Their fans hate us. They'll be really up for it. They demand that their team raise their game against us. They often do. And West Ham typically just found a bit of form last week.
I don't know if they continue to play that high line. I think Eden Hazard is going to have a field day.
Yeah, I think that we can get the result, and I'm kind of confident. But equally, it wouldn't surprise me if West Ham have the game of their lives.
Nah, I think Chelsea.
So this is more like. I mean, that's not based on actual analysis. This is a feeling.
This is a feeling. This is something that I've had for years, going to Upton Park and watching them raise their game.
Yeah.
And Freddie Canute scoring blinding goals at Stamford Bridge. I've been there, I've seen it, and it drives me mad. But they do it.
And I have to say as well, I remember I went to watch a West Ham Chelsea game at the London Stadium, and I've been to a few London Stadium games, and the atmosphere was completely different.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Completely different.
I like that.
It was genuinely.
Where does that stem from?
An unbelievable atmosphere.
There's so much antipathy, Chelsea West Ham. It's a real it's one of the few games at Stamford Bridge where. I think the police class it as a Category A game, and there's a huge police presence. West Ham travel in huge number. A lot of West Ham fans come over who don't have tickets. It's a big one, and Chelsea reciprocate. Don't get me wrong, but it's a very hostile game. The whole place lifts, and it's a game. It's a fixture that always troubles me. Like I could just have visions. Like I remember Paolo Di Canio scoring one of the best goals I've ever seen at Stamford Bridge, sort of basically from the halfway line, left foot volley. And then he did he's just done it loads against us.
Yarmolenko's no Paolo Di Canio, is he? But he did get his first couple goals in his first start against Everton.
This is what I mean. It happens
Quite an
now.
impressive result. So they are coming good just beforehand, but let's not remember how bad they were before that victory and how bad Everton are defensively, as you said before. So maybe they were just papering over the cracks there. I think expected goals had Everton West Ham an awful lot closer than it was as well. So maybe Pellegrini finally got the rub of the green last week as well. But who can you see causing Chelsea some problems? Because Felipe Anderson's been good as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, their front three West Ham is actually really good. Arnautovic, Yarmolenko and Felipe Anderson, when they start together, that is a good front three. Arnautovic will undoubtedly cause your defence problems if he can get hold of the ball. The thing that West Ham struggle with and have struggled with at the start of the season is transitioning from midfield into that front three. And I personally think they look so much better when Obiang is in that midfield. Obiang on the weekend had a really good game against Everton, and the fact that Jack Wilshere has picked up another ankle injury, it's not great news for the player, but I think it is good news for West Ham. I think when you have Wilshere and Noble in central midfield, it's a catastrophe. There's nowhere near enough legs in there. They're classified as sort of these dogged, bulldog-like midfielders. Neither of them do any defensive work. They're an absolute shambles going backwards. They don't track back. They can't track a man. They're kind of falling around the pitch.
It looked much more well-balanced with Declan Rice in there, didn't it?
Way better with the midfield three they started with. But again, I kind of agree. I think their defence... I know that Issa Diop is a young player and he looked much better against Everton, but I think at times that their defence is going to be a shambles against you.
Masuaku.
Oh God!
I mean,
fine
going forward, but he's just like a bit of a poor man's Alonso, isn't he? But
and what's the lad at right back? Fredericks.
Ryan Fredericks.
Oh my
just
God!
joined from Fulham.
No, not defensively.
It feels a little bit makeshift, doesn't it? But yeah, I don't think you're right. None of that midfield are good enough to play as a midfield two. The three seems to be working an awful lot better, but the quicker they get the ball, up to
get it to Felipe Anderson and Arnautovic.
Felipe Anderson, it feels like he is the transition. If you cut Felipe Anderson off, then Yarmolenko doesn't really have the same pace, does he? He likes to come inside. He's a bit more.
All he does is come on his left foot. If Chelsea can just stop him coming on his left foot, he's
keep him out
fine.
wide. It's Arnautovic though. From our perspective, he's the one that worries me. I can remember being at Stoke a couple of years ago and he scored the winner. He seems to like a goal when it's a fiery atmosphere. You know, when he went away to Stoke, actually, do you remember when he was celebrating?
Yeah,
so he likes all that sort of spite and venom in the atmosphere, and there'll be plenty of that. And I think we'll do it, but I'm a bit worried.
All right, cool. Score predictions.
Comfy. Chelsea 4-0.
I'm going to go Chelsea 3-1.
I'm going to go Chelsea 2-1.
Oh, edgy. Right, Arsenal versus Everton. Let's do this pretty quickly then. Sky Sports, Super Sunday, 4 p.m. And I suppose the question here is, Guendouzi or Torreira?
Torreira for me. I actually think Arsenal's best midfield two. I've changed my mind from what I said on Winners and Losers a couple of weeks ago. I said then I think Guendouzi and Torreira is the best combination, but I think it's probably Xhaka and Torreira. I think Xhaka does play the ball forward really, really well. Okay, he is poor going backwards, gives away a lot of fouls, terrible tackle numbers, but he's the only Arsenal midfielder that can transition the ball forward effectively.
I think Torreira coming on the pitch enables Xhaka to be a little bit more expansive in his playing. And it was interesting, I was having a chat with George, who's an Arsenal fan in our office, and he's basically saying that Guendouzi on the ball, fine, but off of it, his game management is terrible. And Xhaka, if you look at that first half against Newcastle, literally had to tell him where to stand, where to run throughout that entire first half.
That's not always a problem. That's not always a bad thing to have somebody next. Like it's basically the way that Gary Cahill has a career in football because he stood next to John Terry for 5 years.
Yeah, but I think Xhaka's shortcomings mixed with Guendouzi's, it's spelt for disaster. And Torreira just has that tenacity, that bite, a little bit more impetus. And although his numbers weren't great when he came on, I think that's been overcooked slightly, his impact on the game. His presence enabled more from those around. I think
Pato pretty much nailed it when he said Arsenal can't attack without Xhaka and they can't defend with him. So you've got to have somebody who can do the defensive work because they can't transition into the feet of the likes of Mesut Ozil, Mkhitaryan, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Ramsey when he's not playing. It just doesn't happen. Torreira and Guendouzi are not players that are going to do that for you.
I can't get on board with Granit Xhaka at all. I know he scores a wonderful goal and occasionally has a very good game, but he is not the level of midfielder that I'm used to seeing. Yeah, like when you think of Arsenal teams over the years, and obviously I'm of a generation and from a part of London where I'm fully aware of their brilliance over past years, and Granit Xhaka just should not be in that shirt representing that club. When you think of what's gone before, I actually, if I were making the pick, I think I'd just give it to Guendouzi and think for the future. I genuinely do. I think his future's so bright. He has so much passion. When he was playing against Chelsea and they got the equaliser, he was celebrating as much as the away end. He really was up for it, and it's nice to see that. And I just think that if you allow the lad to flourish, he might be the right option. Whereas I feel like I know for a fact that Xhaka isn't the right option.
I think it's a little bit too much pressure on Guendouzi to be starting him every game in the Premier League at this age.
Yeah, I think Guendouzi will still get plenty of minutes in the Europa League in a similar way to Ampadu and Hudson-Odoi, who we were talking about with Chelsea beforehand. And Emery has said he's going to prioritise the Europa League, so he'll have an important part to play in that campaign. Score predictions for this match then, gentlemen. I believe Richarlison is back as well.
He is back. Is it at Arsenal or is it at Everton?
It is at...
It's at the Emirates. I think it's at the Emirates. So I will go for an Arsenal 3-1 win.
Okay.
Arsenal 2-0 win.
Ooh, I'm going to go... Yeah, I think 2-0 as well. I think Everton good enough to score against Arsenal. Although... Mustafi, Socrates, you never know, do you? You never know. Right, moving on to fan teams and prize winners. Starting with Henry Williams' high-flying side then, gents. He's gone for a 3-5-2. Decent front pairing of Lukaku and Jimenez. I do think Jimenez is going to come good throughout the season. Maybe get him 10 to 12 goals. But Hazard, 58 points.
Sickening.
This week. Absolutely disgusting. Your boy Alonso's in there, as is Sadio Mane, who I believe is on your side, Joe.
Sadio Mane started the season really well. Salah has dropped off a little bit in goals and assists, but Sadio Mane has kind of picked up where he's left off a little bit. Obviously not scoring at the same rate that Salah did. The one thing I say about Sadio Mane, some of his decision making, he's a shambles. At Tottenham on the weekend, some of the decisions he made when he was running through, the amount of 3-on-2s that Sadio Mane butchered, it wasn't his best game. He's obviously had better games, but I feel like Sadio Mane is better when he's thinking less. Do you know what I mean? When it's a snapshot reaction, or he's sprinting through, or he's doing things at top speed. When he's running through and it's a 3-on-2, or he's got time to think about a 1-on-1, I don't think he's at his best. And I don't have a problem with that. I've got Sadio Mane in my team, so I think he's going to score a lot of goals. But I think Sadio Mane, there are definitely areas of his game he can improve. Yeah,
okay, fair enough. Alonso at left back.
It's a great choice. It's a great choice. Marcos Alonso's been fantastic this season. He really has. And I just don't understand how anyone can't rate him. There is a section of Chelsea fans, particularly online Chelsea fans, who really don't like him. They love to flag that he's slow, and they love to flag that he can be suspect defensively. But for me, I just think he is
Would you
incredible.
be upset if Emerson Palmieri came in place of him?
I can't ever see that happening.
Really?
I can't ever see that happening. Marcos Alonso is so good. I rate him so highly, and thankfully Sarri seems to agree with me.
I quite like this team. There's a nice balance in there. He's got Zaha, who I've just transferred in. James Maddison's in there. Not sure if he's going to sustain his form. Leicester aren't looking great going forward whatsoever. Displayed that against Bournemouth. They were extremely poor and got undone at centre-back, and Wes Morgan is now suspended as well. And who is their reserve option? Benalouan. Oh, anyway. Next team is Brody Hales's, and he's gone for a 3-4-3. He's got Ederson in goal, got him 9 points this week. Also gone for Hazard, got Aguero in there. Aguero, Lacazette and Jimenez is a very decent front three. I've liked the look of Lacazette at the start of this season. I didn't realise his link-up play was quite as good as it is. I didn't really watch him much towards the tail end of last year because there wasn't a lot of fanfare around Arsenal. They kind of finished on a bit of a sour note, didn't they? But so I really like Lacazette, and he's gone for Maddison as well in there. Jorginho and Kante. Can you briefly explain what differences, what nuances you've seen in Kante's game being a Chelsea fan this year compared to last?
Definitely. Well, they're pushing him on. He plays a lot more, he's a very forward-thinking midfielder now. He's our most forward-thinking. And in the trio that we have, I don't think I'm going too far to say this is the best midfield trio in the league. It goes Kovacic, Kante, Jorginho.
What have you thought of Kovacic since he joined?
Fantastic, absolutely brilliant, like flawless in fact. Like he wasn't having his best game actually the other day, but he was taken off injured, which was a shame. But yeah, the Cardiff midfield being so on his case was slightly putting him off, and he missed a glorious opportunity actually to equalise. But overall, he really has been outrageously good, and it's just a shame because I don't think we have an opportunity to buy him.
No.
But him and Jorginho playing slightly deeper, Kante making those forward-thinking runs, it's a beautiful sight.
Beautiful.
It is. I actually disagree with you about James Maddison. I know that Brody's got Maddison as well. I actually think Maddison's a pretty decent selection for a fantasy team. I'm not sure how much longer Claude Puel's going to be at Leicester.
Hold on, I didn't disagree with that. I think he's a good selection, but I think he's going to struggle.
I think they're going to sack Puel in the next few weeks.
To maintain weeks where he's putting in 10 points.
Yeah, I mean, he also takes penalties, doesn't he? He seems to have taken off Vardy.
Against Bournemouth. I don't know, I was working on the Football Social, mate.
Yeah. Vardy won the penalty, and then Maddison took it.
All right, fair enough.
So I don't know whether Maddison's on permanent penalty duties. He takes free kicks as well for him. So
he's a pretty cultured player.
Yeah,
I mean, he scored a few free kicks for Norwich last season.
And he hit the bar as well in that game. But Puel's going to get sacked anyway, so as soon as he gets sacked and they bring in a manager who can actually coach the side, then they'll do all right.
What are your criticisms of Puel?
Doesn't score enough goals, doesn't set up a team particularly well defensively.
Yeah, I mean, they've been absolute shambolic at the start of the season, Leicester. Even that victory against Wolves.
Exactly the same things that he did at Southampton have happened at Leicester.
Yeah, I mean, there is big pluses. Like he seems to have a good knack at bringing on youth. Like there's been flashes from Damari Gray, I guess, that suggest he might have improved, although he was hauled off against Bournemouth and didn't really do much to do. Okay, let's see how that pans out in the next few weeks. But that's it. What a note to end on, gentlemen. Claude Puel. That's how we
finished the 12th.
Wrapped up. The 12th man. Now, like I said, if you haven't joined our league, then the pin is on screen now. You can still get involved. We'll still be chatting about it on Twitter week in, week out. So drop us a line. Rory, thank you very much.
It's been an honour. Thank you very much.
What a journey we've been on together.
It's been beautiful.
It's been week 1 to week 10. It's been emotional, hasn't it?
Yes, thank you so much.
What should our fans do now if they've not maybe checked out your channel before?
If you haven't checked it out, it's called CFC Fan TV and it's on YouTube, and I'll see you there.
Definitely. Presumptive, if anything.
Yeah. I probably won't actually, but yeah.
Joseph, what's that? Happening in the Football Daily?
Yeah, we've got the Football Social coming this weekend, so make sure you check that out as well. Of course, Man United versus Wolves we previewed is part of that 3 PM fixture catalogue. I'm sure Rory will be back on it at some stage in the season. Yeah, of course, you had Jimmy Floyd, didn't you?
Loved it.
How was that?
It was the greatest day of my life. It was unbelievable. I watched Chelsea win in the company of Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. It was outrageously good. Yeah,
that was great. Euro Football Daily Stat Wars. The league is coming, where we play one another. Joe versus Pato is one of our first fixtures. So, you know,
tight game.
Clash of the Titans. That's it, guys. See you on next season's 12th man, and you know, cue montage. No, don't. Just bye.